If you want to create a large application in Tkinter, it's important to know how to use classes. Python classes can help to greatly organize your code. I'll show you how to use classes in Tkinter.
Hi, my name is Jobin, and I'm an open source developer. My channel is called JobinPy, and it's all about Python and Linux. Welcome to JobinPy.
The whole idea behind classes with Tkinter is that you can have significant portions of your program in separate classes. For example, if you have a toolbar in your Tkinter application, that toolbar and all the logic for that toolbar could be separated into its own class. In this example, I want to have two windows show up on the screen. First, the main root window will appear on the screen, and then there's going to be a button on that window. As soon as you click on it, I want a second window to appear. Once that second window appears, the second window will show the username of the person that's using the program. But the second window doesn't have any information about the username. It's only the first root window that knows what the username is. So I'm going to show you how to pass information from the main window to a second window, or from one object to another object. So the first thing I'll say import tkinter as tk, then from tkinter import ttk. And I'm going to use TTK widgets because I use the newer TTK widgets rather than the older TK widgets. So I'm going to make the root window its own class. So I'm going to say class main window, and it's going to derive from tk.tk. And we're going to have an init method. And we're going to initialize tk.tk like that. So this super init is essentially initializing tk.tk. That's what this line is doing. And we're not passing anything to it because we don't need to pass anything to it. Okay, so another thing that I'll do here is I'm going to create a frame, a TTK frame that's going to cover the entire root window. This is something that I just like to do. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to. So I'll say frame main equal TTK frame self. So the parent will be self. In this case, the parent is tk.tk, which is the root window, which is why I'm putting self here. And I'm going to pack it on the screen. So frame main.pack fill equal tk.both expand equal true. And then I'm also going to put a button on there that's going to say show username. And then when the user clicks on it, it'll show a second window. So I'll say button show username equal ttk.button. And we're going to put this into frame main, which is the frame that's covering the whole window. And the text will say show username like that. And we're going to pack this on the screen as well. And I'm going to give this a pad x of 10 and a pad y of 10 just to have some spacing around it. Okay, so now we can actually run our program. So I'm going to say if name equal main, and now we need to create an object from this class. So we need to instantiate it. So we'll say main window equal main window. So now we're calling that class, and then we're going to say main window dot main loop. Okay, so I'm just going to run this and see what we get. Okay, so we have our window with the show username button on it, and when we click on it, nothing currently happens. So, and again, what I want to do is when I click on that show username button, I want a second window to appear, and I want to pass the username from this window to the second window. So I'm going to pretend that the username has already been provided by the user. For the sake of this example, it won't really matter how the username got into the main root window, but we'll just pretend it's always been there. So we'll say self.username equal, and we'll say the username is cool username. Okay, so that's the username that we're going with. So this window knows what the username is, but the other window that we're about to create doesn't know what the username is. And we need to pass this information over to the second window. And this will all be done without using the global, without using any global variables. Okay, so that's our main window. That's already done. Now we're going to create our second window. So it's going to be another class. So class username window. And this is going to be from tk.toplevel. There is no ttk.toplevel, so that's why I have to use tk.toplevel. Initialize it. And we're going to require a parent or a master. And we're going to call the init method of the top level window. And like that. So it's important to understand what this is doing. So we're creating our own class that's being derived from tk.toplevel. So essentially, this in its current form is exactly like a tk.toplevel widget. It's exactly like that. We haven't made any changes to it. We haven't done anything that makes it stand out, and it doesn't do anything different from a tk.toplevel window or widget. When we call super here, we're essentially calling the init method of the top level widget. So and the reason why this is called super is we're calling the init method in our super class, which is this. So this is our super class up here, tk.toplevel. So we're calling the init method of our super class, which is this, and we're passing master to our top level class. So up here in our own username window, we're taking a master, and here we're sending a master to here. So it's incoming, and from here it's outgoing to here. And that's essentially what this line is doing. But there's something that needs to be different here. We need the username from our parent window. So we don't just want to know what the master of this window is going to be, which is, in this case, it's going to be root, or our main window, I should say. We also need to know the username. So let's ask for the username. So whoever that calls this, whichever part of our code that calls this, needs to also provide the username. So the master and the username. Take note, though, that we don't need to pass the username into here. In fact, we shouldn't. And it's because tk.toplevel won't know what to do with the username. We only need username for our own class, our username window. We don't need it for the superclass. The superclass has all the information it needs. It needs to know what the master is, and we're giving it that information. It doesn't need to know anything about the username in this case, because it's already providing that information to us. Okay, so now we can record the username in our top level window. So we'll say self.username equal username so we can reference it later in our code. And we need a way of showing the username to the user. So we'll say label LBL username equal ttk.label. Oh, and actually before this, I want to create a frame. And again, you don't have to create a frame, but this is something I like to do. So I'll say self.frame main equal ttk.frame, and I'm going to cover the whole window. Self.frame main.pack fill equal tk.both expand equal true. So I'm just covering the whole window with that frame. And this label, we're going to put it into self.frame main, and the text will be, let's make it an F string. My username is self.username, like that. Okay, so now we need to run this second window. We need to open the second window, and we do that from the main window. So when the button show username is clicked, we want to open the second window here. So we need to pass in a command. So we'll say command equal self.show username. And we need to define that method. So we'll say define show username self. And here we need to actually open the second window. So we'll say username window, which will just be a variable, equal, and now we're going to instantiate our class username window. So now we're referencing this, and we're passing in two things. And even PyCharm is telling us here, I need to pass in a master and I need to pass in a username. So username window, so the master is going to be self, and the username will be self.username. So the username window, the master will be self. And why is it self? It's because the master will be the main window, and the main window in this case is tk.tk, which is our main window here. So, and the username is already here. So we're passing this over to our username window, which is going to show up here. We're going to take it here, and we're going to record it here, and we're going to show it to the user here. Oh, and we also need to pack the username label on the screen. We'll give this a pad X of 50, pad Y of 50 as well, just to give it some nice spacing around it. Okay, so let's run this and see what we get. So now we have show username. When we click on it, we get a second window that appears on the screen, and there it is. So we have our username displayed on the second window. And okay, so remember, this window at first didn't know anything about the username. It's this window that passed the information to this window. So this is essentially how information is passed from one object to another. I'll probably cover topics like this in future videos. I hope you learned something. I hope it was useful to you. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.